Hello, and welcome to Round Glass. My name is Lisa Kring. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a longtime practitioner of Vipassana Buddhist meditation. So wherever you are joining us from, I just want to welcome you, especially if you're tuning in through Facebook. We invite you to join our community at round.glass. And also on our app, where you'll find more meditation practice like the one I'll share today. So let's get started. Right now, we're really going to be focusing on healing the very tricky emotion of restlessness. This is such a universal emotion, and often it's very tricky how to heal it. So let's just start with a prompt that's been offered just so that we can all together right now begin to feel into how this affects us. How easy is it for you to simply sit still? And as I share that, I'm so happy to welcome from the chat just what people are saying. Someone says, oftentimes my body gets uncomfortable and I need to adjust. Yes, of course. It's almost like you just can't settle. Someone else says, I can sit still best when I close my eyes. I find it hard to sit still. I get fidgety. Yes, so all of these things are true. And we do naturally, like someone shared, they close their eyes. Sometimes that can really calm the system down. But I'd love to offer a mindful meditative practice. It's a form also of a reflection as a way to understand and heal restlessness. But before we move into the practice, I'll just say a few words just as a way to set the foundation for what we're going to be moving into so that you can get a sense of the terrain. So I think all of us often knows what it feels, that we often feel restless, where it feels like you just can't sit still, you just can't settle. When I feel restless in this way, it often feels as if I've got a shaken up bottle of soda inside of me that is just ready to pop. And of course, it just is so hard to sit still when you feel that pent up energy in the body. At least that's how it feels for me. So therefore, restlessness is tricky in this way. It's a tricky emotion. And it is considered one of the more challenging emotions to understand and to heal. But I'm very happy to share with you right now that I personally have learned some very simple and practical ways to heal restlessness mindfully. And it's all about first actually acknowledging and releasing, honoring some of the energy that has become trapped in the body, actually going with the body first, and then gently, when some of that energy has been released, gently exploring perhaps what might be underneath all of that agitation. And this is a really interesting part of restlessness. Often, but not always, but often with restlessness, it is serving in a kind of defensive way to suppress deeper feelings, keeping them from coming to the surface. And as I say that, I wonder if that resonates with you. Often the restlessness is serving a purpose so that we're not feeling, we're keeping those at bay. It's suppressing deeper feelings. Now, once those deeper feelings become clear and we become to understand and to feel that, in my experience, the restlessness, it quickly disperses. So let's try this together right now. Let's explore it together. And what I'd like to do first is just invite you to settle into the practice and just noticing right now if probably because you're here, because you're attending, maybe there's some restlessness that's present that we can begin to work with immediately in the present moment. So let's begin by actually, before we move into any posture that is still, what I'd like you to do is just sit back and feel into the nervous system, feeling into the body. Notice if there's any restlessness present. And if there is, really tapping into it, actually moving into it rather than trying to fight it, really open to it. And I'd like you to actually really shake it out of the body. I'd like you to spend some time just really actively shaking or moving in some way. You can even jump up and down. Of course, because of the live stream, I have to stay in a seated posture. But I invite you just for this first few minutes to really actively shake. You can shake your arms, you can jump up and down, you can really kind of move the whole body. Jumping can really help releasing that energy. Also, some diaphragmatic breathing. You can do that with me a little bit. Now, if it starts to make the restlessness increase, then don't do this. But see if it does help. Just release all of that pent-up energy in the body by jumping. Allow the movement, whatever it is, to be playful, to be light, to be in connection with the body, really trusting and feeling what the body wants, letting the body lead. And just take a few more minutes to do whatever you'd like to do to just let some of that energy go out of the body. You can use the breath to do that and just really shaking it out. Obviously, the way I'm sitting, I can only really shake my arms. So I really want to honor your space, honoring where you're at, and just enjoy moving the body in this way that just allows all of that energy to release and to calm down. Now, as you do this, you may just start to notice that the body becomes calmer as you let go of this energy, as you really respect it, as you channel it, letting it go. So you may notice this downshift in the body as you continue to release it through any kind of movement that feels organic and playful and in tune with your body right now. It's so nice, the live stream, because you can really make this your own. You, in the comfort of wherever you are, you can really do any movement that feels good for you in tune with your body. So after releasing that movement, just noticing, tuning into the body, and if it feels appropriate, I would like to invite you to settle into a posture. You can lie down, you can remain standing. If that feels best, really respect the body's needs. You can remain standing and you can continue to move a little bit. You can gently walk in a circle as I guide the practice, because when we're restless, we often need to continue to allow the body, we need to honor the body and let it move. So whatever feels best for you. And if you do feel like you can settle into a seated or seated posture, please feel free to do that. Make sure that the body feels very supported. Allow the posture to be very relaxed, not tense. You don't want to force anything. It will make the restlessness increase. We're learning to relax. We're learning to release. And this helps with the energetic experience of healing restlessness. So wherever you are, if you remain standing or sitting, I invite you, if it feels wise and right, you can close your eyes. And for the next 13 minutes or so, guiding you through this practice now. So as you close your eyes, and once again, we'll let the body lead, continuing to let the body lead in open, non-judgmental, non-interfering awareness. Allow this quality of awareness to saturate, to melt into the whole body. And notice what it's like for these first few minutes to become more mindfully embodied and present, even with restlessness, if there's any still lingering, which very well may be the case. Don't fight it, really giving it all the space it needs. And see if you can just find a very simple and natural anchor in the present moment in the body that feels like a relatively stable and natural and simple place to rest in awareness. With restlessness, often the connection to the earth can feel very grounding and stable. It can provide that support in the present moment. So, however the body is in this moment, just tapping into, as an anchor for the awareness, the experience of the body as it rests on the earth, as it connects to the earth, feeling that earth element, which is always present. You might also feel the comforting embrace of gravity that is gently holding the body to the earth. And as you allow this to simply be the anchor of awareness in the body, noticing, just tracking, and noticing how the restlessness changes in any way. Perhaps there's a bit more calm in the body, maybe not. Of course, if the earth element doesn't feel quite supportive, another anchor can also be sound. Simply opening to the sounds, the surround sound of this moment, and simply resting in that flow, the sensual, elemental flow of sound, like a kind of ambient music that you're tuning into with the whole body. So there may be other sensations or distractions that you're noticing, but see just for now if you can allow just a simple anchor in the body, the weight of the body in connection with the earth, or tuning into the sound stream of this moment, and just releasing and resting in that experience as best as you can. And we'll move into healing restlessness when you feel somewhat settled and embodied in the present moment. And tuning into any restlessness now that's still lingering or available, just noticing where in the body you feel it and allowing it in this mindful way, giving it all the space it needs. It may be uncomfortable, it may be unpleasant, but just for now, just not making it too much of a problem and noticing with a quality of wonder and curiosity where it's showing up in the body without interference, and just feeling the texture of the restlessness without resistance. Perhaps it feels kind of bubbly or electric. A little jumpy, and just letting it be there. And for a moment, noticing what it's like just to give it all the space it needs to continue to rest in a steady, stable anchor in the body as well. Provides a counterpoint of balance in the present moment. And just notice how that feels, simply resting in the experience. Does the anxiety or the restlessness, does it calm down a bit the more space and permission you give it to be there? You can really notice this energetically in the body in real time. It's very rare that we stop and actually explore the direct experience of restlessness in the body with curiosity with non-judgment, letting go of resistance and interference. So we'll move into the deeper practice that I was offering at the very beginning, and that's that as you rest to any degree of restlessness, just now taking a moment to reflect and to peel back the restlessness and to gently reflect and inquire if there's any deeper emotion under the surface that perhaps the restlessness is covering up or suppressing in any way. Is there a deeper, more vulnerable feeling underneath it? And when you inquire, just simply make the space in this way and just notice what arises naturally in response to that reflection. Perhaps there's not much underneath the restlessness, and that is just fine. Or perhaps as you explore and open to the deeper landscape of the heart, there may be some deeper feelings of sadness, perhaps of doubt or despair of some kind. And just noticing without trying to change or fix that in any way, noticing what it's like to give any deeper emotions under the surface, just giving them some airtime in awareness. And we often say with emotions mindfully that if you can feel it, you can heal it. Now, of course, if there's any deeper, more tender, and vulnerable emotions underneath that now are able to come to the surface of awareness for healing, just noticing where in the body now this emotion, whatever the deeper feelings are, where do you feel them in the body? And without interference, to simply feel that weather pattern of emotion energetically also moving through the system in any way. When we allow it to be felt, emotions can naturally, organically move through the system if we don't interfere. It's also a beautiful opportunity with restlessness or with any deeper, more vulnerable feelings to let it be an opportunity for some self-compassion. This is what allows us to hold and feel the experience in a way that is very healing, really embracing it with a quality of self-compassion. And we can do this as we stay in contact with any deeper, more vulnerable feelings, tracking them in the body, staying connected to perhaps where we feel them in the body. You can compassionately respond with any gestures or movement. You can actually put your hands anywhere on the body where you feel and hold this emotion as you would a child, a young child in need of care. You can also add any kind of movement for restlessness in a self-compassionate way, or for any deeper, more vulnerable emotions, whatever they may be for you, if they're arising, if they're coming to the surface. You can gently rock. Movement can be very, very compassionate and gentle movement, can be very healing to the heart and to the body. Keeping your eyes closed, you can really rock from side to side. Now, as you explore all of this, it's very interesting to notice if there's any change in the first primary emotion of restlessness. Are you noticing that as you tap into perhaps any deeper emotions under the surface, that the restlessness disperses like a kind of fog? This is often how it feels for me when I practice in this way, is then the restlessness is no longer needed and it dissipates. Because now that deeper emotion no longer needs to be suppressed. It's able to be felt, to be known, and to be held and healed. Along with any gestures, any movements, and really making this your own. Trusting your intuition on what might be best for you, given whatever vulnerable emotion is arising that's been suppressed, maybe for a while. Are there any words that you're just waiting to hear as you feel this now? Words of comfort and reassurance, like you would hear from a very dear friend. And I invite you just internally to offer those words to yourself right now. Along with gestures and with movement and words, as you get in touch with perhaps any deeper feelings, what might you need right now? Is there any action that you can take in your life now that you've been able to tap into perhaps this deeper feeling? Is there any action or steps that you can take that may be supportive to you, given what is arising for you, what you're feeling deep down? What do you need? What do you really need? Do you need to slow down? Stay more connected? Surround yourself with support of any kind. Spend more time practicing in this way or spending time in nature. So reflect and feel and see what really unfolds for you in compassionate response to anything that you may be feeling in the heart. And for these last few minutes of this practice, just if you like, returning to that more steady anchor of awareness that we began with, really feeling into how the earth is cradling and holding the body right now, returning to that more supportive and stable anchor in the body. Or perhaps just opening again to the surround sound of this moment. And as you rest in this mindfully embodied way, you can reflect as we come to the end of this practice now. What did you notice? Were you able to feel into the anxiety or the restlessness? Were you able to let it go in the body first? And how did it feel to really let it go through movement? Was that helpful? Did you notice the system calm down as you actually went into it in that way? And then, of course, what was it like to explore and to inquire and to open to any deeper emotions that are often just waiting to be felt and to be known, perhaps being suppressed by the restlessness? What happens to the restlessness when we begin to drop down into those deeper, more vulnerable places of the heart? So just noticing this for yourself, knowing that you can really open in this way, practice mindfully in this way whenever you feel restless. And I'll just ring the bowl to end this practice, and we can come together and share and reflect in these last few minutes that we have. I love the live stream because what's beautiful is we get to practice together and we get to inquire together. So let's get to some questions. I see one question from Facebook. It says, I feel the urge to move mid-meditation. Should I focus on staying still or allow myself to adjust? I would say that staying in connection with the body, it's beautiful throughout the whole practice when we're dealing with restlessness to honor the body, just staying mindful throughout, not tuning out actually. But I would, depending on how it feels for you, I would move throughout the whole meditation. If you start to calm down, but then the restlessness comes up again, give yourself permission. This is the mindful process of honoring restlessness. Yes, allow yourself to mindfully shake it out, jump a little bit, do a little bit more of that, and see if it helps energetically for the restlessness to clear. And someone else asked the question, I hope that's really helpful to you. Should I practice this regularly or only when I'm feeling restless? Now, this is a really beautiful question. I would say that if this really speaks to you, this is a beautiful way to practice where, when we're honoring restlessness, there is that first process of really moving it out of the body, really jumping a little bit playfully, letting it go. But this practice of seeing what's underneath a more agitated state, you can do in any moment. And for me, it really helps me heal the restlessness that's on the surface. It's like the restlessness is just these waves on the surface, right? And we get so caught up with that. But it's actually a very interesting defense mechanism because it keeps us from feeling what's deeper underneath the surface. So I offer this practice so that you can make it your own. you can experiment, you can play with this, and you can see if you want to make it something that you can do every day as a way to tune in to perhaps what's really going on inside. Often the deeper feelings do get suppressed. We're out of time for now. I hope this was helpful. It's been beautiful, and I really thank you for joining and practicing with me at this time. And of course, for those of you joining us from Facebook right now, remember that you can meditate with Round Glass live every single day. Check us out at round.glass or download our app. And I'll be back next week for my next live session. So I'd love to see you then. Until then, be well.